FloQast is an accounting workflow automation platform. We understand that accountants are really the operational backbone of an organization. We were built by accountants, so want to be the one place where accountants come to know exactly what needs to be done on a daily basis. Now, we know accountants don't just work on the close, they work on other things besides the close when we're done with it. So we want to track those items in FloQast too. We can build out different workflows that are customizable to you to be able to bring other people that you interact with, whether that's upstream or downstream from the close, to be able to have one central place for communication and be able to track your workflows. Within our tool, we have people track things like tax deadlines, PBCs, controls workflows, listing out all of those controls that people need to work on. We even bring the FP&A team in. They have checklists they need, but they also rely on accountants to finish booking the actuals so they can update their forecasts. Why don't we give them visibility into where accounting is with their process? We also track operational things like AP and AR closing, or Treasury has their own checklist. Payroll processing, we all know they have a lot of checklists to use, as well as reporting. Reporting relies on accounting to give the backup for all the financial statements. If we can bring all those teams into one platform and allow them to gain that visibility, centralization, and the ability to communicate in one tool, we're immediately bringing efficiencies to the process. As we scroll down here, we also give visibility into how many tasks people have on their plate in this calendar view. This often identifies bottlenecks in the process, or if one person has way too much to do on a specific date, and we can reallocate that work. I'm going to click in to our Close Global dashboard, and this takes us to a view where we can look at the status across all of our subsidiaries. Today, most accountants have to go reach out to different contacts at the different subsidiaries or entities to be able to view where the status is of that close. With FloQast, we're centralizing all that and giving controllers and CFOs the visibility into the status. So there's no more nagging accounting managers to find out where the team is or if they're going to close on time. As we click in, we can get some high-level KPIs of tasks and reconciliations that the team need to perform, but also be able to view by process. The processes on the left here are all customizable, so you can really track the status and be able to get a dashboard of any process that makes the most sense to the team. For accounts payable, it looks like I have 23 out of 36 items completed, but I have some more work to do. So I'll click in, and here I come to the most granular view of FloQast. This is where I'm able to look in my corporate entity for my April 2022 period in accounts payable at all my checklist items, all of my documents, as well as all of my reconciliations centralized in one place. We will be able to bring the checklist that the team currently has, or we can provide best practice checklists into FloQast. This allows teams to centralize all documentation, make there be a repeatable process that as teams grow and scale, they're able to come in and anyone can reperform the work. We have the ability to have due dates, which helps teams organize and prioritize their work. Assignees, multiple preparers or reviewers, so really holding teams accountable. And then the ability to sign off. The sign-off date and time stamps. So from an audit trail perspective, we're able to have all of that tracked and exportable out of FloQast. When I sign off, Taylor gets a notification that this item's ready for his review. He can come in and look at any documentation I've attached to this task in one central place and not have to go look for it all over, or be able to leave me a review note within the tool. There's no more, sending a message to someone, following up, making sure they respond to you, and then forgetting about it. we're able to track the status of that review note in FloQast and have the one central place for communication. Now, all of this, these notifications of late items, the notification that you have a review note, that something's ready for your review, they can all be sent via email or also with an integration that FloQast has with Teams or Slack. We really want to be meeting teams where they work today. We know that most organizations that we talk to are scaling, they're growing, they're adding new entities, acquiring new companies. So FloQast made it very easy to administer the tool. You can easily come in and add descriptions, assign different frequencies. As you can see, this checklist is truly made for accountants. We understand that tasks are happening on different occasions, and we don't want you to have to figure out when a specific task should be done or to remember to add it to that checklist. Within FloQast, you assign it to there, and in that period, maybe it's quarterly, it will only show up in your checklist on a quarterly basis. Due dates on a T plus or minus system, so truly being able to go by business day. Maybe I close AP on day -2, but I have accruals that are due on day +3. All of that will be able to be tracked, and we identify any holidays or weekends and adjust accordingly. Now, let's say someone's out sick for the period. Mandy might be out. We can reassign this to Siobhan, say it's for this period only. Now, next month, this entire checklist and folder structure automatically rolls forward, and this item will go back to being assigned to Mandy. So the team doesn't have to worry about updating due dates or adding new tasks into your checklist every single month. They're able to gain time back in their day because FloQast is automating that entire process for them. Now, a tool that FloQast has that also helps automate the request for information is called FloQast Remind. We know that accountants rely on other teams providing them with the actual information to be able to book their journal entries. So let's think, your accruals process. You need to reach out to different people in the organization to understand what you need to accrue for, or maybe you reach out to external vendors or legal vendors to understand what their unbilled service fees were. Maybe it's even reaching out to the IT team to find out what laptops were disposed of this period. I can come in, create a request within FloQast. We have all these great templates that we can choose from to be able to set up a request on a recurring basis. So I can request data from someone in my organization, and every single period that will automatically be sent out to anyone I assign to this, customizable template to use. The best part about this is that FloQast is going to follow up for you. There's no more sending out that email blind and hoping that someone responds and then having to take the time to go and see who responded and who didn't and send those follow-up emails. Now, we're going to be able to automate that. We've got this never give up mode, meaning we're going to follow up with teams until they reply to the email, all the way down to a chill mode, which means, I'm just going to send one email out and just send a reminder. Maybe it's to the whole organization. Hey, don't forget to submit your expense reports. After that request is automatically sent, FloQast has the ability to track the response rate on this dashboard. I can also come back into the tool and be able to see right from this checklist the status of my request. I can see 2 out of 4 people have responded. I can export those responses centrally from here, but I'm also able to click in and get the most granular view, person by person, of who responded to my request and who didn't. Accountants have never had a way to see if your emails were opened or, if they were bounced or, marked as spam. So we now have that visibility and no longer have to track people down. We export this. It gives all those responses as well as any attachments into one file where I can come and read everyone's responses. This really is bringing a lot of efficiency to teams' process because they're having now extra time to really do the analytical review rather than just sending emails and doing so much administrative work. As I scroll down here, we come to the documents section. This is where FloQast centralizes all documentation. Now, the one requirement of FloQast is that our customers use a cloud storage provider. We integrate with OneDrive, Google Drive, Dropbox, Box.com, and Ignite. That's important because we have direct API connections with those tools. Now, we can open that from our File Explorer, and all of the files that are saved within that File Explorer are reflected here within FloQast, as well as all of the documentation. This is really important when it comes to how FloQast integrates with Excel for your reconciliations. Now, FloQast takes a two-pronged approach to reconciliations. Because we were built by accountants, we understand that a lot of reconciliations are going to require Excel and the use of Excel. And FloQast wants to be able to add controls on top of Excel to be able to automate the tie-out back to your ERP. But there's also some reconciliations that are more standard in nature and can be automated by a tool. So FloQast has automation around accounts that you're matching two data sets or you have amortization for, like a bank reconciliation or a clearing account or credit card, intercompany, and then amortization like prepaids. First, I'll start with our Excel reconciliation and tie-out. With this, we are able to integrate with your ERP. We are ERP agnostic here at FloQast, so some are built out through a direct API and others are through SFTP. We also integrate with your Excel reconciliation. We can track any reconciling items here and then calculate the difference. Now, my difference here is above my materiality threshold for this account. So there are preventative controls in place to not allow me to sign off on this reconciliation. Let me go in and make my update and talk to you a little more about how this works. I'm going to update my amount by 250K. Now you're probably looking at this like, Megan, this reconciliation doesn't look like mine. That's okay. Your reconciliations can look completely different than FloQast. The only requirement is that we add this hashtag FQ dash the account number to the right of the ending balance. This hashtag can move every single month. It can be on different tabs. You can tie out multiple accounts within one workbook. Really, the only requirement is that you add this hashtag. Now, when I come back into FloQast, I can click refresh. This will refresh automatically each day, but I can click that refresh button at any moment. My difference is now below my materiality threshold, and I can now sign off on this account. Again, Mandy gets a notification that this item's ready for her review. She can come in and leave that qualitative review, that evidence of review, within our review notes. You're probably wondering, okay, this is great. I've never had anything that can read into my Excel reconciliation before. But what happens if someone goes and books a journal entry to my account or something changes in Excel? How am I going to know? Well, because of that automatic refresh, there are detective controls in place that will immediately notify myself and Mandy that these items that were previously signed off no longer tie out, and it will suspend my sign off. The team will instantly know when something is no longer in balance. This really reduces the risk of financial misstatement, as well as allows the team to speed up their close because they can start working on reconciliations prior to the period being closed in the ERP. As I come to the central reconciliations view, this is really where teams can look at all reconciliations across all entities at once or at an individual entity level. There are great filters in place to be able to come and see exactly what I need to work on. That's what's assigned to me and maybe what's late. Here are the items that I need to work on and focus on for the day. But we talked a little bit about the automation of reconciliations in FloQast. There's really 3 types of automation. The first being our fixed balance accounts. Now over here, I'm in my tags. This is where we can tag items that we want to be able to filter on. These tags are customizable. So we could do high risk, low risk, be able to, look at my information any way I want. Let's look at fixed balance accounts. This is where maybe an account doesn't change period over period. Something like maybe a goodwill account if you're not doing acquisitions, or a clearing account, or restricted cash. I can set those as fixed balance. And for that period, as long as that matches back to my ERP, we're going to automatically sign off on those reconciliations. For those accounts where you're comparing 2 data sets, like a bank reconciliation where you're looking at the GL transactions for cash versus my bank rec or my bank account transactions, or maybe a clearing account where it's my debits versus my credits. Within FloQast, we're able to automate that process. So teams don't have to sit there and check boxes or color code and be able to reconcile one at a time. Within FloQast, we can automate that entire process for the team. There's not any upfront work that needs to be done. We are built on a machine learning model. So what that means is we're able to take the data the way it is today, upload date, amount, and any 2 reference fields into our tool. And we are building matches based off of a probability calculation. So if the probability that this is a match is high enough based off of the information in those 4 fields, we'll match 1-to-1 transactions, many-to-1, many-to-many, and even single-sided reversals automatically within the tool. We aren't a rules-based engine, so there's no extra administrative work that needs to happen with this. Now, on average, we match about 75 to 80% of transactions in the tool, but the remaining are going to be here on the Transactions tab. This is really where we want your team to focus their time on the exceptions. I see the word lawyer over here multiple times, so let's check that out. I can type in the word lawyer. Great search functionality. I can mark all. It adds that up for me within FloQast. Now on this side, maybe I want to sort by amount and look for that total. I see it here. I can mark that. Green means go. I can reconcile. And then I'm left with the remaining transactions. At the end of the period, this all rolls forward automatically. So we have a beginning balance with these transactions, and you just upload the new activity for the next period. Now at the end, we save this to Excel, and the reconciliation is automatically created for you. This hashtag that we talked about earlier is already there to pull into FloQast. We age out the outstanding transactions, call out those GL transactions, bank transactions, and then have an audit trail of everything that was reconciled. Remember, this can be used anytime you're comparing 2 data sets. So it doesn't just have to be to do the reconciliation. It could be for just making sure that information flowed from maybe a Salesforce into your ERP properly, or to see what was your unbilled or your unpaid prepaids. We could compare your prepaid balances back to your AP aging. There's a lot of different use cases that this could be used for. Now, the other way that we automate reconciliations is through amortization. Amortization was built mostly for prepaids, but we have other teams that use it for many other use cases. In here, we will upload your historical transactions, and FloQast automatically creates the waterfall schedule for you. So here, we will be able to calculate this based off of your policy, whether that's straight line, daily, prorated. And what's great about this is FloQast actually allows you to make updates if you need to. So controls in place to not allow you to change a prior period. But in the current period and moving forward, I could come in here and accelerate amortization. We will automatically recalculate everything moving forward and even allow a place for you to put the backup invoice for review. From a reviewer standpoint, make it really easy to identify your new additions or something that might be falling off this period to make sure that we're reaching out to see if a new invoice is coming in. It's also a systemized calculation, so you don't have to worry that someone has mistyped anything in Excel or hasn't dragged down the formula properly. Again, we export this to Excel, and when we do that, FloQast is automatically creating the journal entry for you, has the waterfall schedule as backup, and has the roll forward with that hashtag already there. In summary, FloQast can help you automate multiple types of reconciliations that are more standard in nature. But for those reconciliations where, you might need to perform some calculations in Excel and you have a more complicated rec, we're able to help tie those back to your ERP by integrating directly with Excel. Finally, we have a completeness check, which checks to make sure that all the accounts in your ERP are being tied out within FloQast. And if not, we make it easy to add that new account and assign it to different team members using that risk-based approach. If your reconciliations aren't done, every single month, maybe just your high-risk recs are done monthly, but your low-risk ones are done quarterly, we can definitely configure that within the tool. Maybe those high-risk reconciliations, you also want to have a quarterly reviewer on. We make it really easy to be able to add that and scale with your company. After you finish all your tasks, you've done your reconciliations, now it's time to perform your Flux analysis. This is that actual to actual comparison of any two periods for your balance sheet or income statement. I know I used to perform this every month. I had to do the month over month, the quarter over quarter, the year over year. It was a huge task for me when I was an accountant. With FloQast, we're automating the creation of your Flux report with these 4 customizable roll-up levels, the ability to put a materiality threshold on the account level or the entire report level. And if an account has a material change, we will identify that for you, put a due date, the assignees, and everyone has a dynamic place where they can come in to explain the variance period over period within FloQast. I can sign off, and once that sign off is complete, if someone goes in and books another journal or my balance changes, FloQast is going to identify that and notify you that you need to go and make sure that explanation still makes sense. Hopefully this reduces the number of review notes that we have, but we have that ability to centralize all those review notes in one place. Maybe you do your Flux on the financial statement line item level. That's okay too. We have the ability to do that Flux at that level as well. Again, going along with our theme, we can export this into Excel and we create the entire Flux for you. This is exactly what auditors want to see. It's just an export and send to them. Maybe this is what upper management wants to see. We enable your team to get this Flux done quicker and be able to have one place where if a balance changes, your team's not going and rerunning an entire Flux report and doing those calculations in Excel anymore. FloQast is automating that for you. We've completed our Flux, our close is done. Now it's time to come and look and see, okay, how do I improve my close in the future? Well, we have our close progress. This is where we see, are we going to close on time? We could use this during the close, but our close trends is going to tell us how we improve in the future. As I come down here, it looks like we're running late. Maybe this is middle of the close. I can identify which areas are late. Also be able to identify team members that might have too much on their plate. But like I said, let's do that review. How did we do that close? How do we get better in the future? We give you visibility into how the team has been progressing over time, but also give you actionable insights into how to make that close faster and more efficient by identifying those bottlenecks in your process. We tell you what those reoccurring late checklist items are and reoccurring late reconciliations, even reoccurring late team members, to be able to see where process improvements need to be made and where the team needs to focus their time in making each of those processes more efficient. With this, FloQast has enabled teams to close the books over 35% more quickly and done that with quick implementations and amazing customer success. There's also ongoing learning here in our Flow Academy, as well as an amazing customer community called our Flowverse, where people can come in and be able to collaborate and learn about new product releases.